Hello, today we're going to be going over the various Vietnamese War, or Vietnam War, tanks that were used in the conflict. So first of all, let's get right into it. So first of all, the M67 flamethrower tank, Zippo. Now, this was not the only Zippo used in the war. There was also this Zippo, which was mounted on the M113 chassis. Which is APC chassis. So these were probably used to mainly clear out brush and people and things like that. We also had the M41 Walker Bulldog. This was used as a light tank in the Vietnam War. So that's that. We also had the M48 A1 Patton, and you might notice that this hull, in fact this turret, looks very similar to the M67 Zippo flamethrower tank, and that's because they use the same exact hull. However, this one has an actual gun, cannon, that is, whereas this has the flamethrower in place of the actual main gun. And we also, during the Vietnam War, there was also the M113 ACAV that was used. And I have a lineup of what I presume to be the more used variants of the M113, just based on what I assume. And I assume that the Zippo version of the M113 was used. However, I'm not entirely sure on that. So feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But we also had the M113 with a 50 cal. Now, I know that this had to be used. This had to be used because the 50 cal was standard service even in Vietnam. So just included it here. What was also used was the M4 Sherman. I've also got the flamethrower version of the M4 Sherman out because Vietnam, as you can tell, has a lot of trees. And you know what trees don't like? They don't like flames. They don't like fire. So I would assume that the M4 Sherman flamethrower variant that was used in Iwo Jima and against Japan in World War II would also be used in Vietnam. So, without further ado, let's just burn the entire forest down. Now, some of you with a keen eye might notice that Minecraft doesn't exactly like what I'm doing right now, but that's because it's Minecraft. However, as you can see, it works as intended. So let's go over to the North Vietnamese and see what tanks they were using at this time. So first of all, we have the T54/T55. So basically the T54 and the T55 are basically the same tank. in essence. However, the T-55 has a NBC protection system, which protects against radioactive fallout and chemical agents, stuff like that. However, the NVA didn't just use the T-55, they used the Chinese copy of the T-55, the Type 59 tank. Now, if you know anything about China, they like to copy things. I mean, you could say that's a bad thing, but you can also say that's a good thing. So, I mean, it really depends on who you ask, honestly. But this is the T-55, because we don't currently have NBC protection in MCHeli, because, well, I'd have to code that, and that'd be annoying. And considering it's very specific and tedious, basically, you get the T-55. Even though it doesn't technically originate in this war, it was technically the T-54 / Type 59, but T-55. The NVA also captured M41 Walker Bulldogs, so that's something. They also used the T-34-85 in the Vietnam War. And they also might have used, now correct me if I'm wrong again, the AMX-13. However, I'm pretty sure that this was used because I have a fond memory of this, at least in some simulative games I've played. So, editor's note, the ZSU 57-2, the M551 Sheridan, and the SU-76, as well as the PT-76, are not currently included in MCHeli Overdrive. However, that could change soon if people ask me for those tanks. If you like this overview / showcase, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm RageXPrince683, and I'm out.